I've been playing Dynasty Fantasy Football for over 5 years now, and this is hands down the biggest mistake I've ever made in Dynasty. So I don't really have a good phrase or explanation to describe the biggest mistake I've made in Dynasty, but it basically can be summed up kind of like this. Stop making bad Dynasty value one-for-one player trades under the guise of bettering your odds for winning a Dynasty championship. Now let me explain. Back in 2020, I made basically one trade during the entire regular season, like in season. I made a bunch during the off season, but during the actual regular season, I made one trade. And that trade was I traded away CD Lamb for Keenan Allen. Now remember, this is 2020, so this is like rookie year CD Lamb. This is Keenan Allen last year as well. And you might say still though, Addison, why in the world would you make that trade? Lamb is a top 5 Dynasty asset. Keenan Allen is good. He's been really solid, like a perennial wide receiver 1, but he's approaching 30 years old really quickly. He's getting old. His value is shifting and changing and declining. And I get that, but let me break down my process for why I made that move last year. So at that time, my team was 9-0 in my DLF Champion Cup League. I was 9-0. I had the most points for. I had an 80% all play win percentage, and I was just fantastic. I had the 1 seed. I was the best team in the league, on my way to a first round bye, and hopefully what I thought a Dynasty championship that year. Also at that time, CD Lamb was great. He was kind of on his way to a breakout in his rookie year. He had awesome production with Dak Prescott, but if you remember, Dak Prescott in week 5 or 6 rolled and broke his ankle and then was out for the remainder of the year. So I had a couple of games after Dak Prescott's injury for CD Lamb without Dak Prescott. He just wasn't performing the same way. He went from 15 fantasy points per game or more with Dak Prescott to like barely hitting double digits in most weeks without Dak Prescott. Keenan Allen, meanwhile, on the other hand, was on fire. I mean, he had the breakout of Justin Herbert last year. He was getting double-digit targets basically every single game. And when I acquired Keenan Allen, he had just started a stretch of 5 games in a row, scoring a touchdown. And then I also got his amazing 16 for 145 and 1 stat line in week 11. I was definitely winning in terms of production. I was getting better production from Keenan Allen than I was with CD Lamb without Dak Prescott. And in my mind, that was going to help win me a Dynasty championship that year. And at the end of it, if I won that championship, even though I took that value hit from moving CD Lamb to Keenan Allen, the end would justify the means in that regard. I did win the championship that year. However, Keenan Allen actually did not help me win that championship at all. He really didn't. Even though I had him for basically the entire second half of the season, I didn't win any more games with Keenan Allen than what I would have with CD Lamb. I actually documented this entire process on Twitter with a lot of other analysts who are very interested in how this team played out. So let me break it down for you. I acquired Keenan Allen back in week 10, and I won my matchup that week with Keenan Allen. That was actually CD Lamb's bye week, so I would have had to play someone else if I still had CD Lamb, but I probably would have ended up playing Ronald Jones, in which case I still would have won. Week 11, I lost by 0.4 fantasy points, 0.4. That one sucked. But Lamb still would not have changed the outcome of that game, as Keenan Allen still outscored CD Lamb, so I still would have lost if I had CD Lamb. Week 12, I won by almost 100, so I still would have won with CD Lamb instead. Week 13, I won by 30, so I still would have won with CD Lamb. Week 14, I was on a bye because that was my first round bye for the playoffs, so nothing mattered there. Week 15, I won by over 30 again, and that was with Keenan Allen putting up 2.7 fantasy points. That was actually the game where we were curious on if he was actually going to play that whole entire night, and then he said, "Don't sit me," so I didn't sit him, and then he put up 2.7 fantasy points. Yeah, that was that game. That wasn't nearly as fun, but the outcome didn't matter if I had Keenan Allen versus CD Lamb. And then week 16, I won the championship by 40 points, and Keenan Allen didn't even play because he was hurt. So I actually would have scored more fantasy points and actually won by even more had I had CD Lamb than Keenan Allen, because in the end, Keenan Allen didn't even play for me because he was hurt in the championship game. The sole reason why I paid to get Keenan Allen, he wasn't even there for me. So in the end, I took a massive value hit for that trade and what I thought was going to be a bettering my odds for winning a Dynasty championship. And while I did win that league, nothing would have changed had I still had CD Lamb and been playing CD Lamb that entire year versus acquiring Keenan Allen and playing Keenan Allen. Despite getting better production from Keenan Allen over the second half of the season than CD Lamb would have gave me, I still would have won that championship if I didn't make that move. Fast forward now to 2021, same team, same league. This is all in the same DLF Championship Cup league. And you would think that I learned my lesson from 2020, but nope, I did not. This is right after week 9. I'm 6-3, most points for again, first place in the league. I had just lost Derrick Henry to his injury on his foot for the remainder of the season. So this is just a couple months ago. And I decided to take another value hit in a trade by trading away Derrick Henry and acquiring Darrell Henderson. And I figured this time would be different than 2020 because Derrick Henry's out for the year. I would be taking a 0 every single week if I played Derrick Henry. So I figured that I could get somebody to come in and actually put up points for me, and probably a good bet in my eyes in Darrell Henderson to put up double-digit RB2 type weeks on the majority of the weeks for the remainder of the year and continue making me a competitor like I already was as a first place 6-3 team to help win me a second championship in a row in this same league. But let's see, because that might not actually have been true, and it actually ended up not being true at all. So week 10, first week I acquired Darrell Henderson. I lost by 13. Same outcome I would have had with Derrick Henry instead. Week 11, I win by 65, and that's with Darrell Henderson on his bye week. So I didn't even get to play Henderson that week, and I still would have won had I had Derrick Henry winning by 65. Week 12, I won by 23. Darrell Henderson actually scored 16, so I still would have won if I had Derrick Henry and had to play someone else. Week 13, Henderson didn't play due to injury, so I still would have lost. Week 14, Henderson didn't play again, so I still would have lost. Week 15, I actually had a bye. This was another bye week for me as the 2 seed in the league, so nothing mattered here. Week 16, I win by double-digit points, and that's with Darrell Henderson scoring 1.7 fantasy points, so I still would have won had I had Derrick Henry and just played somebody else. And then week 17, championship week, Henderson didn't play again due to injury, so the outcome was still the same had I played someone else if I still had Derrick Henry. So I did it again. I thought I had learned a valuable dynasty lesson in 2020 by, basically tracking all year long and seeing that CeeDee Lamb and Keenan Allen actually didn't change the outcome of any of my games in 2020, only to just go ahead and repeat that same mistake in 2021 in what I thought were different circumstances, but actually really weren't. So it's just the same value detriment to my team in terms of its overall dynasty value, and that sucks. And I made the exact same mistake, and that's why it's the biggest dynasty mistake I've ever made playing dynasty over the last 5 years. So the lesson learned here is one player will not affect the outcome of your team's overall performance over the course of an entire season. Most head-to-head matchups actually are not won or decided based on one start-sit decision. I invite you to go back, look at all of your matchups, and see how many of your matchups were decided by single-digit points, or better yet, even 5 points or less, to where one player actually would have made a difference for you. Because I bet you that you think that there happened a lot, but it really, in actuality, does not happen all that much. We just remember those games where we lost by 2 or 3 points because of one player screwing us over or one start sit decision that we made wrong. We remember those more because they hit us harder in our feels and in the heart. But in actuality, those games aren't happening as much as you actually think they are. So please learn from my mistake. Take away the fact that one player does not ultimately really affect how your team is going to perform over the course of an entire season. That can actually make you a better dynasty player overall, because you might be the person on the other end getting a bump in dynasty value while you're taking a production hit. In actuality, that doesn't really affect how your team is going to score overall, but it improves your team from a dynasty perspective. You might be able to take advantage of other managers like me who think that they are making decisions to better their odds of winning a dynasty championship, when in actuality, like I said over and over in this video, it's not actually making a difference. So try to take advantage of that kind of stuff. Remember this for the 2022 season and beyond. I might even post another video like this right before 2022 to remind us again not to make these kinds of mistakes, and just really want to show you guys that this can really affect how your dynasty team goes overall. Because right now I would much rather have CeeDee Lamb and Derrick Henry on my dynasty team than Keenan Allen and Darrell Henderson. So don't make those mistakes. Learn from my mistakes and become a better dynasty player. And if you'd like to become a better dynasty player by seeing a breakdown of the entire week 17 slate of games from this past week, you can click right up here and watch that video. And with that all being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch y'all later.